Alright, we are back filming in my office today because the air quality in Oregon is terrible. We have some wildfires nearby and you can't see more than like 2 miles because of the smoke. So I don't feel like working outdoors, so we're in my office. Today's question is how to hook up a pump and what to do with the pipe in the water feature, because that's something that I have not covered super well in my videos. So we're going to cover that today. The submersible fountain pumps of all sizes come with their own fittings to hook up to various sizes of pipe or tubing, depending on what you're using. Sometimes you use a hard pipe for like a structure, or a flexible, bendable tubing like some of this stuff here. So I have a couple different sizes of pumps here. One is like 60 gallons per hour, the other one's 800 gallons per hour, and one's like 2,000 gallons per hour. And I'm going to show you that they all have a similar concept of how they're hooked up. So this miniature one here is tiny, and it just has this little fitting on top, and it came with its own tubing. And this tubing is as simple as just slip it on the fitting here. And it's rubber, so it's real snug, and it doesn't pull off under the pressure of the water, because the water pressure is much less than my grip. So it's as simple as just pressing these pieces together, and this one is such low water pressure that it'll just spit water out of the hose and this won't pop off. So whatever you're using this for, I think this is more of an indoor one for like aquariums, but I suppose you could use it like a bird bath or something. That's it. And then depending on the project, you hide the hose however you can. Same goes for this slightly larger 800 gallon per hour one. So this is one that I've used previously and I ended up taking it out to swap out the pump or whatever. This one is 800 gallons per hour and it's a similar concept. So this one threads on, so I can unscrew this at the top if I wanted to. But this is just a barbed slip fitting, and I found this flexible tubing that fit it. Oftentimes I'll take these fittings into the hardware store with me and just go to the plumbing section or the I almost just broke it. I'll go to the plumbing section or wherever you can find the tubing for this kind of stuff, depending on whatever store you go to. And I'll just take this piece into the store with me and just find out what pipe fits. And I'll literally just feel around and try to find what pipe fits for that. And again, because it's got these little barbs on it, once the pipe fits over it, these barbs catch and the pipe doesn't pull off under the water pressure. And I am able to pull it off with my hands, but once it's running with the water's not enough pressure to knock that hose off. And then you have this thread on the end of your pipe to then screw into your pump, whichever pump you're using. So the square water fountain I have in my backyard is a just hard PVC pipe that fit over this barbed fitting, and it's down in the bottom of the reservoir. And if I ever need to take it off, I can just pull it off or unthread it. But that's just a hard 3/4 inch PVC that I found coincidentally to fit snug right over this barbed fitting. And it was that easy. There's no extra glue you need. I'll sometimes take electrical tape because it's pretty waterproof and wrap it to seal it extra, but that's not always necessary. I think that's just me taking an extra precaution. But for the most part, it's just a slip fit. This one has to twist, but it's a small pump. The larger pumps often have their own thread. So you have an even larger pipe. I don't think this one fits, but you get the idea. If I could find a larger pipe that fit this at the hardware store, I could press the pipe over this, and then the pipe can stay stationary and the pump can stay stationary, and it comes with this little rubber seal that goes in the threads here, and then these threads twist onto the pump. So you can set your pump in the reservoir, twist your pipe on, and if you ever need to replace the pump or clean the pump, you can take the pipe off. Every project is different for hiding the pipe itself. So my water feature up front, the pump is in the pond at the bottom with the appropriate fittings to hook it up to the pipe, and the pipe just comes out the side of the pond with the rocks over the top of it, so you can't see it when it comes out of the pond, and then I buried it in the ground till it comes out at the top. So with my creek out front, I didn't want to punch a hole through the liner because I didn't have the supplies for that. I just took my pipe all the way up the back where I could bury it in the rocks, and then I was able to just bend and fold it up over the edge of the liner on the very back end. Where the hose comes over the liner at the top is just barely above the water level so that the water doesn't leak out, but it's just low enough in the ground that I can hide it. So I've got this big piece of pumice sitting on top and some other rocks, and I just stuck the hose into the rock, hit it with some river rock, and it looks like the water just kind of comes out of the ground right there. I also filmed the pump on the Aquascape kit that I got. So the Aquascape kit came with all the pieces I need and the instructions for it, and they actually threw in some of their own secondary parts to help readjust the angle of it and things to make it more customizable, and I'll show that as well. So this one comes with two options actually. It looks like the pump itself comes with this swivel corner, so you can make it straighter 90 degrees, and then you can change whatever fitting you want on it. So you just find the one that fits the hose you're using. So I would push this in and it's barbed so it would catch and then not pull out, and then you could screw this onto your fitting and then set it at the angle you want, and this is how you would hook up this pump. And that all came within the box for the pump itself. But because this is a specific kit that was sent to me and it came with other accessories, they sent me their own fitting that was their preference. So this is what they sent me to extend it up out of the box that they sent me to put it in. And this has a backflow system. Once the water flows up, I don't know if you can see that, there's a little backflow in there to keep the water from draining back out of the hose. So this is the system they sent me. It also threads onto the top of the pump with this fitting here on top with the backflow system, and then it looks like these go together here, and then my pipe fits in here. And this is gonna go in the box at the bottom of my water feature, and it's all gonna get buried and self-contained. So with that pump down in the reservoir, I've got the hose all hooked up and it's buried underneath behind my rock here, and it comes out in the back here. This needs to be glued into this, but the liner goes over the top of this and the hose goes through the liner, which if you're doing this by yourself with things you pick up at Home Depot and thrift stores, this might be the difficult part, which is why I just go over the top of the liner, right? I just bring my hose up and over, which works a lot of the time. This will save you from having to frame in with rocks a top pool to flow water out of, and then you just set a rock on top of it. But I'm going to show you how to put this through the liner here. This is going to get cut and then pressed over the top of this between here, and then I'm going to put my rubber seals on and cap it. I just have to make sure that I don't cut my hole too big. I think they said to like press it so that it creates a ring on the inside, and then yeah, there's a little ring here. I can cut that ring out. So there's that. Not quite perfect circle, but hopefully it clamps well enough that it doesn't tear. That, and then thread this back on. That's that. And then when this folds over, all the water should be contained in that area. So you should be good to run it after I glue that hose in there. In my own DIY projects, like my most recent one with those two big large rocks that I made a waterfall over, those I have to get creative and customize it myself. So that one again was this same barbed slip fitting with threads on it, and once I had it hooked up to my pipe, there was room enough under the boulder to stick the pipe under the boulder up to the back. And then once it was out the back, that was the only place that you could see it, and then I just had to find a way to hide it with the rocks and disperse the water, and I think I filmed that as well. So if you're doing all this yourself, it can be as simple as find the right pipe to fit the fitting that came with the pump and just piece those together and then hide the pipe however you can. You can either bury it in the dirt or cover it with bark or set it in with the rest of the rocks so that the rocks cover it. It all depends on what you're working on and where you're building it and what the project looks like. So that's all the detail I can think of to mention. If there's anything I missed, if you have any other questions, you can ask them in the comments down below. Hopefully this video was helpful in some way. If you learned anything or you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like below and subscribe to my channel and go check out all my other projects. I've made about a dozen of these water features now and I'm planning on one soon. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.